Ben, another question I have for you is, I think when we set up the business, we launched this sort of sales advisory side, and for those who don't know what that is, we help a lot of people who want to sell their property get the best possible price. And we thought there would be one or two people once in a while asking us, but we've actually helped people sell a lot of their properties. And why do you think that is? It's not an area we thought would grow so quickly, but it's just been a service that everyone has really found useful.
I think that the world of trying to sell a property perhaps used to be a lot simpler, and it used to be a case of walking down your high street. You might have bumped into the local estate agent that you'd actually met at the local fair, and you could sell your house or your property or your investment, whatever, because it tended to be much more local. I think these days we're in a more global world. Clients are, in America and, all overseas. And the trouble is that I think estate agents are taught these days very well how to sell their service to clients, as in sellers, and they're taught very well how to sell perhaps to the buyers. But I come back to the fundamental principle of Rocket, which is, how do you act for the best in the best interests of the client? And what we found was, well, there were a number of people and our clients who came to us and said, look, I really want to sell this property, but I actually don't know where to start. All these agents keep ringing me up, and I've had all these flyers through the door, and they want to charge me 2% or 2.5%. I don't know whether the fee's correct. They want to tie me in for 12 weeks. My property's sitting on the market for X amount of time, and I don't know whether or not they're even doing a good job because they never give me any feedback. So what we said was, well, okay, well, look, yeah, we can help. We obviously need to charge a bit of a fee, and getting involved later can be a bit more difficult, but it can be overcome. But particularly if we get in early, we can then actually get everything set up properly. We can make sure the marketing's right. We get the right agent, because not every agent is actually correct for every type of property in every area. So, the likes of the big agents say they might cover the whole of London. Well, they might not be the best person to sell a small ex-local property in Clapham.
Do you set up a beauty parade, or how does it work? Take us from being appointed to what the steps are.
Okay, so the steps are, one, to understand what the client's trying to achieve, in terms of, have I got to sell really quickly? Do we consider auctions? Are you okay to sell over the medium term, i.e. 4 to 6 months, because it will take that long to sell? And what is your property that you're trying to sell? We then review that property, who's selling stuff, use our knowledge of the market, and in terms of which are the best agents around, who's the most active, and who are the ones who actually will be trying hardest. We then go back to the client, and as you say, it is a bit of a beauty parade, and we will get various agents around. Not beauty parade as in get them all one after the other, but I think it's better to actually get the agent around, get them to give their proper advice, and really understand exactly what they're going to do for you and how they're going to go about the process, and the little details of where do they get their photos from? Do they always use floor plans? How do they go about marketing? Are they on all the portals? Are they just on Rightmove or just on the market? Why don't they have Rightmove? Why don't they have on the market? Why don't they have Zoopla? Do they use other social media? Because social media is important these days. So there's lots of questions that you have to ask. And then once you've done all of that, then you've got to negotiate the terms. So frequently we'll manage to get lower terms because we're an agent talking to an agent, and we can get 0.5% off, for example, the standard fees. And then once you've instructed them, then it's a case of making sure they're actually doing their job. So, and in some cases, there might need to be some staging involved, and good agents might have a really good cost-effective staging person to come in. And then we have to make sure they actually do their job, as in they get the marketing out. And the most important one real tip is, when you're starting to sell a property, make sure day one you don't go too quickly, and you actually make sure you've got everything right, because that first advert is probably the time when you're going to generate the most interest and the most inquiries. So whoever you choose and however you go about it, make sure that you get it right at day one, get all those inquiries through the door, and then you've got to try and make sure that you pursue everyone who does come through the door. The number of agents we call who don't even answer the phone, So how on earth they actually sell things? I don't know.
Agents didn't answer the phone.
Yeah, unbelievable. So yeah, there's a proper process to go through, and then we help with problem solving as well once a sale's been actually agreed. And actually, when the buyer comes along, are they proceedable? That's another really important point, because it's all very well someone saying they'll buy your house in the UK, in England and Wales, not Scotland. In England and Wales, anybody can make an offer for a property with no consequences at all. So there could be some young kid who's having a bit of a laugh and saying, I'll buy that £1 million property. I don't think it happens very often, to be honest, but it could be that they just come along and say, yeah, I'll pay £1 million, but then they've got to be checked out. Now, I mean, a lot of agents do the right checks, and they do the the checks that the buyer has got the money and is an appropriate buyer. But there are still a lot out there who don't do the necessary checks. So that's our sales service, and then we make sure that then it actually gets sold. And we've done a number where we've sold things and then we've actually reinvested the money to get our high yield product. So.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. People say, "Oh, you charge." Well, we charge 0.5% of the eventual sale fee, and people go, "Oh, that seems a lot." Well, we're selling a £2 million property. 0.5% is £10,000. I can guarantee we'll get a higher than £10,000 differential on the price by following those steps, I think.